Okay, well, Lily, the today's share good mayid is Le'il Nishmas David Eliyahu ben Zechari Aryeh Meya Ashis Bad and Shama should have an Aliyah. We remember him. Says the Mishnah. We're up to the Mishnah on Mem Tes Amid Beis. So Mia marries a woman Amnash Shnei Koyin, and she thinks he's a Koyin. V'nim it's a Levi, and turns out to be a Levi. Levi v'nim it's a Koyin, or vice versa. You're marrying me, you're thinking I'm a Levi, and it turns out to be a Koyin. The sin you marry me thinking I'm from a Givonim, that's guys are not marrying the Kal Hashem. V'nim it's a Mamza, Midiraisa can't marry him. Mamza v'nim it's a sin. Ben Ir, a person who is lives in the suburbs, not in a urban area, and then it's a ben krach that he's in an urban area. It's much more difficult to live in that area because it's crowded and so forth. Ben krach and it's a benir almanashe basi korv lemerchatz. You marry her in the condition that my house is near the bathhouse. V'nim rochak, and it's a distance away. Rochak v'nim korv, or vice versa. Amnashe yesh le bas. We had this yesterday in the condition that I have a daughter, or shifla megudeles. So yesterday it does not dafka big, but it could be someone who was prestigious. We saw that interesting tosos that maybe it means begadel seyor. And you don't have almanash einloi v'yeshloi almanash einloi bonim. You marry a mas that there's not to him children. V'yeshloi, he does have children. Almanash einloi v'einloi that sheyesh manas that does have and he doesn't have. Kulam in all these places, you're not mikudeshes. And afa pishamar belibi, even though she tells you, in my mind, I accepted the marriage outright, regardless of the tanai. Afa pikein in mikudeshes, right? And the chen he she'te'asay, and so too vice versa. If he's marrying her thinking she has no children, or that her house is next to the merchak. In other words, the reverse of any other case over here, where it's contingent upon him, was contingent upon her. Okay. Now, even though she's saying that she's saying that in her heart, she was willing to marry him despite the fact that the Tanai wasn't fulfilled. She's not Mekudeshes. And from here, we extrapolate a very famous halacha, Devarim shebelev eino devarim. Devarim that are in the lave are not words. Devarim shebelev eino devarim. Who gavra dezaven lenichse ledaite lemesek le'eretz Yisrael. He sold his property and with the das to go up to Eretz Yisrael, but he didn't go ahead and say anything. He wasn't mafarish this. And when he sold it, he did not say it. So if he didn't say anything, where are these words? These words are devarim shebelev. These words are inside him. They're not known to anyone except him. Amarava havidvarim shebelev ve'ena devarim, and therefore what? The sale is a good sale, even though the Tanai wasn't fulfilled, because that the Tanai was totally in his mind. Okay? Now, Manole l'Ravaha. Where does Rava know this din at Dvarim Shebelev and Devarim? Again, very famous sugya, Dvarim Shebelev and Devarim. This is the sugya. And where does he know this from? So again, a guy sells. The whole reason I'm selling my property is to make aliyah, and he doesn't. The sale, if he didn't go ahead, if he verbalized it, of course, it's not Dvarim Shebelev. It's out there. But if it's inside him and no one knows about it, but okay, Bez Hashem, we'll see a Taisus in a second, but let's get into the sugi a little bit. Where does he know this one? It says by the Kabbanis. It says im oila karbanoi, if an oila is your carbon min abaka from the cattle, zacha tamim yakrivenu, should be a male, pure. El pesach ol moed yakriv oso, and it says the word lirt sono to the pesach of yakriv oso lirt sono l'fnei Hashem. Yakriv oso, and it says yakriv oso, and it's extra because it says before at the beginning of the pasuk yakrivenu. So yakriv oso is extra. Malami shekofan oso, that you force him to bring his nether. Usually a carbon oil is a nether. It's one that you brought either as a nether or in a double. You force him to bring the carbon. Yachab al karcho, I might think you force him against his will. Tamid lomar, there it's so no. It says you force him at shomerot tzani. Okay, it said kofan oso at shomerot tzani. V'amai, why could you force him? Habaliba lo'nichale, in his heart, he doesn't want to bring this. So what do you see? Elo, you must conclude lav mishum daminon devarim shebelev ain't a devarim. Whatever he has in his heart, we're not going to take it into account. So therefore, we force him, and we consider it what as if it's okay. He doesn't want to bring it. It says at Shiyomer Rotsani. Rotsani means I want to bring it. So he doesn't want to bring it. We go ahead and do away with it. I want to bring it, and we can consider it like what? Like we don't care. We don't consider it. We don't care. Okay. And it says the Gemara Vaita. The Dil Mashani Hasam that Nan Sahade the Nichale Bekapara. Maybe the Dvarim Shebelev there are not a stira to what he wants to bring the carbon. In other words, good. You're assuming if you're forcing him, he doesn't want to. Maybe he does want to. He wants the kapara. We had a similar idea by Gittin, right? By the famous Rambam. You force him, it's the Eight Sahara telling him not to. That's really the next Gemara. The bottom line is there's no hoichacha over here from this case. You don't have a proof from this case to Dvarim Shebelev, because his lave could be in cahoots with what he's doing, actually, that he really does want to bring the carbon. Sel Ella Miseifa, the Seifa of that Mishnah. So you find Begitei Nashim V'Shechrurei Avadim, by Gitei Nashim V'Shechrurei Avadim, that Kaifnei Sayat Shiyam Marotz. And then you force them until they say, I want to, let's say it's Chatzi Evi Chatzi Baskayrin. We had the Gemara in a Shaleach. We have two partners, one frees the slave, the guy's stuck. He can't marry a Shifra, he can't marry a Bas Yisrael. So we force the issue. That would be a case of forcing a get. So you force it at Shiyam Marotz, and he doesn't really want to free him. So this would be a raya to Rabbi's Yisoid. Says no, perhaps it's different over there. It's a mitzvah to listen to the words of the Chachamim, and he wants to mechazik those words of the Chachamim. Therefore, he's going to mekayim the words of the Chachamim. So just as by the carbon, maybe it's believed he brings it for kapara. So too over here, maybe the Chacham said this. I'll go ahead, I'll put away my natural desire not to give a get, but to be mekayim the words of the Chacham. And Memela, since it's not for sure that the Dvarim Shebelev are Eina Dvarim, it could be Habi Dvarim. You do not have a raya. Ella Amar B'Yisla Mihacha. Hamekadesh Isha v'Amar Kasaba Hayisa Shi Kahenes. I marry a woman. I thought the woman was the Kahenes. Barihi Levia, she turns out to be a Levite. Levia, Venimsa Kohenes. Aniya, I thought she was poor. Barihi Ashira. Ashira, I thought she was rich. Barihi Aniya. Mikudeshes. In other words, she didn't go ahead and trick him. He tricked himself. This is what he thought, but she never stated that. It says, I thought. Ella, why do you have to say whatever you thought ain't devarim? We go ahead and put away whatever you say. We don't consider it. You have a raya. Says no, you have no raya. Abaya dil mashani hasam dil chumra. Maybe over there we're just being machmer. Says Rashi, 4 lines down. Shani hasam dil chumra. Klema ikla meimar the haditani mikudeshes. When it says you're married to her, if you think she's a Levi and she turns out that you're married to her, maybe it's Dvarim Shebelev are Dvarim, and really you're not Mekudeshes. You said Mekudeshes. They were being Machmer. Sheinu Muteres la'acher b'lei get. She's not mutter to marry someone else without a get. Al Kidushin gemurin, but full-fledged Kidushin. Lo have a levatel Kidushin acherim shlo yafis ba. Right? We're not stopping others Kidushins from being toifus. Why the kitcha get off misheni, and she needed to get even from the sheni. In other words, when it says of a mikudeshes, it doesn't mean outright mikudeshes. If someone else would come along and marry her, but since we're misupik, whether kasava yisi, I thought she was a kahenes, I thought she was rich, I thought this, I thought that. So maybe we're chayish l'chumra to say she would need a get from both people, from the first person, because maybe yes, maybe not. From the second person, because maybe the first one not. So maybe the chumrah we say it, but outright the same mikudeshes that we do away totally with what the person was thinking, maybe not. So you do not have a raya to the yisoid of Rava that Dvarim Shebelev ain't a Dvarim. So we did away one with kapara. We did away one with what? If you want to be mekayim divrei chachamim, we did away one with what? Maybe it's the chumrah, and now we're going to bring the final raya, and the final raya that wins is from Me'ilah. It's from Me'ilah. What do we know about Me'ilah? Well, we know the other day we said that yesh shliach l'dvar aveira, right? A person by it can be a mishaleach. A person sends another individual, and that other individual takes money away from hegdish. In that case, the mishaleach, the one who sends him, would be moil. So if you send him to get, I don't know, you send him to get like this silver dollar that's over there, and he takes a golden dollar. They're both a hegdish. If he takes the silver dollar, the mishaleach will be moil. If he takes the golden dollar, then the shliach will be moil. Because on the golden dollar, he wasn't a shliach, right? He was only a shliach on the silver dollar. So the rule of thumb is, if the shliach does a shlichus, he is what? He is chayav. Okay, I'm going to bring a raya from here that dvarim shebelev and dvarim. This will go ahead and be the winner. Okay, it says Gemara Elom Rabbi Mehacha Bekulam Af Bishama Belibi. Okay, obviously I jumped the gun. There's still one more to go do away with. Elom Rabbi Mehacha. Our Mishnah Bekulam, in all the cases, you thought she was a kohenes, you thought she was Leviah, you thought she was witch, you thought she was in the Emerachatz, you thought she was in the Krach, so on. And all of these, if she says Belibi, right? I still want to be married. We don't listen to her. In other words, the Tanai wasn't fulfilled. He says, "You marry me thinking I'm a kohen." She goes, "Oh, I want to always eat truma," and turns out you're Leviah and you're not eating truma, right? Oh, I always want to live near a merchatz. Bottom line is, you're going to end up the closest place you're going to go is 15 miles away. In all of these cases, she says, "I don't care." Right? We disregard what she says. Why? Because the Devarim Shebelev, whatever she said, ain't a Devarim. So the this is how we got into this sugya. We're wanting to bring our Mishnah as a raya that Devarim Shebelev ain't a Devarim. The Domashani Hasan, the Kimin, the Asne, since he made a condition, Lav Kol Kamine, the Akrul Tanoi. Maybe she doesn't have the power to be Oikers Tanoi. Maybe Devarim Shebelev is Devarim. That's when what? It's going against a level 0. But when you're going against a level 50, in other words, if you get married and thinking inside your mind, you're thinking one thing, you didn't make any condition, maybe Dvarim Shebelev would be Dvarim. But over here, he said conditionally, "Oh, I'm a Kohen." So your Dvarim Shebelev, Keneged, something stated cannot win out. But Keneged, something not stated, maybe would take into account. In other words, if he didn't say anything, he didn't say, he gives a Kidushin, didn't say anything, and she goes, "1 second. I thought I was marrying a kohen. Maybe it would win out. Maybe it would win out. Why? Because he never made a statement that I am a kohen. He never made that statement. She showed. In other words, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Maybe the reason over here we do away and says we don't care and it's not mekudeshes is because it was a stated tonight. And a Devarim Shebelev, something that was not elucidated, cannot overcome something that was stated. Masha'en Kain, if something wasn't stated, maybe Devarim Shebelev, happy Devarim. So from my Mishnah, you have no raya. Right? It's the Lashon. Look at the Lashon of Rashi, guys. It says the word, Kimin Esnaya, Shepirish Tanoi Bepiv. He verbalizes Tanai, marry me, I'm a Kohen, marry me, I'm a Levi, so on and so forth. Lav Kol Kimina, she doesn't have the power with the Dvarim Shebelev, L'ma'aker Tanoi B'Dvarim Shebelev, to be Oiker Tanai with Dvarim Shebelev, because it's a state of Tanai. Hoyel V'Shama Le'michta, since she heard, and she didn't protest and say, I don't care if you're not. I want to get married to you. Right? Tonight. Be Kaddish be without it tonight. So therefore, maybe there Dvarim Shebelev ain't a Devarim. If there was no state of tonight, it may not be. The bottom line is, as of yet, we do not have a source for Dvarim Shebelev ain't a Devarim. Says the Gemara, 1 second, maybe you do. El Amar Rabba says Rav Chia bar Ovin Uvdahavi be Rav Chista Rav Chista be Rav Huna who Pashtu Meha. The shaila was brought to Rav Chia bar Ava, and there was a meister that is done in the yeshiva of Rav Chista, and the not a meister, but the shaila brought in front of him, and here's the shaila, and this is the winner. Someone says to a shliach, Hava li min hachaloin. Bring me this object, this money from the window. I'm in a deluskimo for some type of wallet, some type of tash. The heviloi, and the shliach brings it. Afal pisha amar balabayis loyhoyoli belibi el alzeh. There were 2 packets on the window. I wanted packet A. You brought me packet B. In other words, he didn't state it. Kivin sheheviloi mizeh. Once you bring it from the window, balabayis moel. So the balabayis tells him, go bring me from the window. But he doesn't state which one. He brings him A, and then the Balabais and he says, I wanted B. The nafkamina, fellas, is powerful. Remember, if he does his shliach, the mishaleach is moil. So if you do what I want you to do, then I'm moil. If you don't do what I want you to do, I wanted the silver, you put the gold, then you're moil. So what does he say now? He says, I didn't want A, I wanted B. But the bottom line is, he never verbalized it. What's the halacha? The mishaleach is moil. He wanted B. Devarim shebelev eina devarim. That's your raya. Devarim shebelev eina devarim. You're moil, the mishaleach. Yesh shliach ledvar. This is one of the three places. Yesh shliach yad and dalad behei. One of the three places that we say yesh shliach ledvar. I want to taina now that he didn't do your shlichus. That's devarim shebelev and devarim shleim and devarim, and this will hold court. This is going to win. We'll ask a few kashas on this, but this will win. This is your source for not only for Yesh Liach L'Avera, but Dvarim Shebelev and Dvarim. Says the Gemara. V'amai hakama belibi. He says belibi. I wanted B and not A. Elalav mishum namina and Dvarim Shebelev and Dvarim. It must be because we say Dvarim Shebelev and Dvarim, and who's Mayel? Yud Mishalech will be Mayel. Says Gemara. Maybe it's not Dvarim Shebelev. Maybe he's lying. B'dil mishayni chasam dil mifta nafshei mikarbon kasi. Again, the halacha is if you're Mayel behegdish, fellas, it's always b'shoigeg. You have to bring a carbon me'ila. You have to pay karen b'chaimish. Maybe this is guy who wants to avoid bringing a carbon. In other words, he's lying. Until now, we always felt Devarim Shebelev Havi Devarim wasn't lying. We just felt it's Devarim Shebelev. Over here, why he's saying I wanted B. He really wanted A, and he really is mile. But he says I wanted B to avoid the expense of bringing a carbon. Says the Gemara, to avoid the expense, he could have done something a lot easier. He could have said what? I'm amazed. Right? I could have said I'm amazed. By saying I'm amazed, would he bring a carbon? Me'ila is only b'shogeg. So if he wanted to avoid it, he didn't have to say I wanted B instead of A. He could have said I'm amazed. El, it must be a raya when he didn't say that. So no. Maybe he didn't want to be. Maybe he still doesn't bring the carbon. But he doesn't have the option of what of saying I'm amazed. By saying I'm amazed, he's making himself into a Russia. Correct? By saying I'm amazed, he's making himself into a Russia. Problem. He's making another. So in other words, so back to the original question, he can't say amazed to you see. Maybe he's saying I wanted B instead of A to avoid the carbon, and you have no raya that Dvarim Shebelev and Devarim because of what? Because these are not Dvarim Shebelev. Says the Gemara, no. No. He could have avoided everything without making himself a Russia. He could have said, I remembered that it was Hegdish. Oh, you know what? I sent you to get my silver dollar, and on the way I remembered that what? That the silver dollar was Hegdish and not Chulin. The halach is the shliach is mayol. So if he wanted to avoid a carbon and make himself pata, he didn't have to say I wanted B instead of A. He could have simply said, I remembered that A was what? Was Kodesh. Since he could have said that, and he didn't, it's the Dvarim Sheb, and therefore we know, when he said I wanted B instead of A, it wasn't to avoid the carbon, because to avoid the carbon, he had another way out. He could have simply said, I remembered. And since he didn't say that, he said I wanted B instead of A, it must be what? Dvarim Shebelev and Dvarim. The Tanya, Niska Balabais, the Balabais remembers that it's Hegdish. Like Niska Shliach, but the Shliach doesn't remember. Shliach Moel, the Shliach will be Moel. So you guys have a raya that there's a din of Dvarim Shebelev is Eina Devarim. Dvarim Shebelev Mad is Eina Devarim. Who Gavra? There was this individual. There's Avnina L'Nechase. He sold his Nechasim. Adaite L'Meisik La'aradi Yisrael on the das to go up to Eretz Yisrael, and he said this. He was mefurish that what he's selling on that das. Good. So in other words, not Dvarim Shebelev. He says I'm selling it on das that I want to go up to Eretz Yisrael. And what happened? Solik, he went up to Eretz Yisrael, and Veloy it darley, and he could not live there. He didn't have. Rashi says he didn't have enough money, or he couldn't afford a dira, or he couldn't find a dira. But for whatever reason, he came back. Now the question is the mechira bottle or not? Amarava called the solik adaita lemeidahu. Anyone who goes up there, it's self-understood that he went up there to live. And Memela, he can't tie into that what that is dvarim shebelev, and therefore it is what it's like it's understood, right? That he sold it on the condition to live there, v'loy itadelei, and he was not able to fulfill that condition, and therefore the mecha should be batal. Okay, one more time. I'm selling you the land on the condition to go over to Eretz Yisrael. Now, does that mean just to go up? That means to live in Eretz Yisrael. You could view it two ways. You could view it to go up there, and to live there is Dvarim Shebelev, or you can view it as what? As to go up there, and it's self-understood that I'm going up there to live. If you view it as Dvarim Shebelev, then the deal will be the deal would be not bottled. But this mechira will be a mechira because you never stated to live there. If on the other hand, it's self-understood that you're going up there to live there, once you fail to live there, then the Tanai was fulfilled, and therefore what? The mecha would be bottled. So that's what Rabbi wanted to say. He wanted to say, he wasn't able to live there, and therefore the mecha is bottled. That was one way to learn the Maisa. Ikadiyami, there's another way to learn the Maisa. Adaita lemesek, right? He was megalis his dots that he wanted to go up to Eretz Yisrael, and he didn't explain on Benas to live there. So all we have is what is Maitzimi Piv, and this what? He sold Amnas to went up, Vasalikle, he went up, and therefore the Mechas Kayim. He was to live there, that's the Dvarim Shebelev. Who Gavra, there was this individual, this Avnina Lenichse, Adaiti Lemesik Eretz Yisrael, the Seifle Salik. He sold to go up, and bottom line, he didn't go up. Amar Avashi, he buys Salik, he could still go up now. He could still go up now, therefore the Mechas Kayim. Ikad the army, he boy Salik. What's stopping it from going up? My binai, what's the difference? It could be nayu this yalid oin saborchav, this oinus bederach. In the first lashon, iboy salik, he'd go out mashma any which way. The second lashon is mashma iboy salik. It's mashma that what's stopping it?
You're not eating them, Mario.
No. What's stopping him from going up? In other words, let's say it's Rashi brings. Let's say it's found out there's marauders on the derech. Let's say there are list them on the derech. According to the first lashon, he's still the meches is still in existence. Why? Because he said he's going to go up any which way. According to the second lashon, with mashma, only if an oinus would get in the way. Well, now you got an oinus got in the way, and therefore the mechel would be bottled. Those are the two ways to learn pshat in the Gemara. Okay, just a little bal chayv on the Taisus. Let's go back to the Taisus on Mem Tesam and Beis. Dvarim shebelev ein devarim. Mashma dafka mishum shlem pirish devarav. Avon pirish devarav lehed yavama b'shas hamecher. If you would have said shu meichum lefishu reitzel lelechas Eretz Yisrael, have a mecher bottle, then it would be bottle. Says Gemara v'kosha amai habinin tnai kafel. Right? V'hari lo hisna shem lo yelech lo yiskayim hamekach. We learned in Masechta Gittin. We learned the idea of tnai b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain. That Moshe Rabbeinu said, if you want Eretz Eva Yarden, that's what if you go up, and if you don't go up, right? He spoke it out, the positive and the negative. Over here, the Taisus is asking a kasha l'chayra, even if it would be spelled out, it still would not be good tonight because he was not a tonight kayim. So there's a Kidushin Taisus. If you look, I want to skip down a few lines. The circle chalik v'leimer diyesh tvarim she'enat tzrichim tonight kafel. There are things that do not need tonight kafel. Alagili milsa danan sahade dedaita da'achiyavid. In other words, there's certain things that are self-understood that you do not need a tonight kafel. And this is one of the situations over here. I'm selling you this land on the condition to go up there to Yisrael. So therefore it's self-understood. And if I don't go up there to Yisrael, then it's not a sale. Right? You don't even have to spell it out. The huge chiddush of what? Of the Riyah Zakin. That's usually why you do not need what? A tonight kafel. Mishnah. A person says to a shliach, "Say the kaddish the isha ploinis, go be kaddish so and so b'makam ploni in this place. B'holach v'kitcha b'makam acher, and he goes ahead as mekadosh in another place. In mekudeshes, you're not mekudeshes. I think we gave in Gittin we gave the mashal of Los Angeles. I go be mekadosh this woman in Los Angeles, you mekadosh her in San Francisco. What about this? He says to her, Harihim b'makim ploni. She's in Los Angeles. The kitchen makamacha and some mekadosh. Over here, he didn't say to me mekadosh her. He told her where she is, and he was mekadosh in another place. Havizum mekudeshes. because this is just a case of Mara Mokai. Second case is not telling where to be Mekadesh. It's saying if you want to be Mekadesh, she's in this locale, just giving directions. And we had the same Mishnah in Gittin. Tanan Nami Gabi Gittin. Give this get so and so in this place. Puzzle. It's not a good get. You only made a shliach for Los Angeles. You were not made a shliach for San Francisco. She's in Los Angeles, and you're given in San Francisco, then kosher, the get will be kosher. If it's tzricha, you need to tell me both cases, one by get and one by Kidushin. Again, the exact same halacha. The Yashmin and Gabi Kidushin, b'makom de l'karva kasi, in the place that out there are it's close. B'hai asur rachmilei, right? B'hai asra rachmilei. In this place they'll have rachmanas. They love me, and they won't say any bad things to the isha. And therefore, I want after this place. That's why it would work. By high asra in the other place in San Francisco, suddenly they hate me. And they're going to speak negatively about me. So therefore, by Kidushin, where you want positive raid, therefore you're makbid the daf in this place. Regarding Gittin, where you're coming to distance yourself. I would say maybe you don't care what they say. So no difference San Francisco or Los Angeles or San Francisco, because let them speak negatively about me. You're getting, I'm disengaged anyway. I don't care if that I'm embarrassed in Los Angeles. In other words, by get Rashi brings to get divorced is usually some kind of a knife for an individual. So therefore, I only want to be divorced in Los Angeles, not in San Francisco, because there it'll be bothering me if they speak about me negatively in San Francisco. But Shenkin by Kidushin, where it's the Karva, you don't care how they're going to be speaking about you, or they won't be they won't be speaking about you in such a negative way because you're doing a good ma'aseh, getting married, getting engaged. I would think there's no difference. Kamash Lon, maybe in that place you're concerned, they may speak about you, not speak highly of you as they will the other place. Says the Mishnah, Mekadesh is Isha al Menash Shein Elo Nedarim. And Mekadesh an Isha on the condition that she doesn't have any Nedarim upon her. But Nimsu Le Nedarim, and you find that she has Nedarim. Eina Mekudeshes, it's not good Kidushin, meaning you don't even need a get. Konsa Stam, if you marry her, you didn't say anything, and you find the Stam, the Nimsu Le Nedarim, then you find Nedarim, so you didn't say anything, but you found you had Nedarim, then Teitse Shalei B'Ksuba, she would go out without a Ksuba, but you would need a get midivrehem. You can time it in tiny mekach twice. You're going to need a get midivrehem. You need a get midrabanan. So in the first case, it's not kedushin at all because you stated you don't want it, and then what you didn't want was there, so you made it conditionally. The condition wasn't fulfilled. There is no kedushin. Mashenkin over here, where you mekadesh stam without any frills attached, and you find out that you don't want a woman that's not dronis, and you can tie that this is not the woman I married, the mekach twice. Then what? Then it Teitze B'lei Ksuba. Now we had this Mishnah in Ksubis, and the focus there was Teitze B'lei Ksuba. The focus was you go out without the Ksuba. It wasn't the focus you go out. The focus was on the second clause, not the first clause. Over here, the focus is on the first clause, and in Masechta Ksubis, the focus on the second clause. You marry a woman on Manas that she doesn't have any bodily defects. Consistam v'nim suba mumim teitze like suba. Again, the same din, right? The same din. Shekola mumim psulim b'kahanim psulim b'nashim. Whatever psul that would make a kohen unacceptable for the avoid in the Beis Hamikdash would make a woman unacceptable as a wife. The bottom line is we have the exact same mishnayos appearing in two venues, and the reason is in our venue it's for clause A and Ksubas is clause B. But Tananami Gabi Ksubas Ki Gavna Hachi B'Kedushin It's Trichalei. Tano Ksubas at Kidushin. Over here we need clause A, we learn clause B at the clause A. Hasan Ksubas is Richale. There in Ksubas, when you need clause B, Tana Kidushin at the Ksubas, you learn Kidushin at the Ksubas. Mekadesh te nashim b'shava pruta. The person mekadesh two women with the shava pruta. Obviously, she's not mekudeshes. The guy knows that. He knows the Mishnah says Aish niknas b'shleishet drachim b'kesev shtar b'bia. Kesef, Pruta b'shava Pruta knows the shita of what of Beis Hillel. However, he doesn't know that it doesn't apply to two women. Or Aisha achas v'pachas b'shava Pruta, or he was a genoi, a boor in Amoritz. He didn't even know that a woman's mekudesh b'shava Pruta. He thought even less than a shava pruta. Afal pisha sholach savlunis, even though after the Kidushin he sends the gifts of Kidushin, and those gifts of Kidushin are worth a shava pruta. You're sending her gifts, right? Afterwards, you're sending her gifts afterwards. Why not? Shemachmas Kidushin Rishonim Shalach, says the top Rashi. Einem Kudeshes, and we don't say Yodeya Hayu. A person knows Shein Kiddush of Kidushin. He knows that this Kidushin is not a good Kidushin. He knows that this Kidushin is not a good Kidushin, right? He knows that one pruta doesn't work for two women, and he knows the person doesn't work less than a shava pruta. And what's he doing now? He's going ahead and sending her gifts. So since I know the first round didn't work, the second round, the round of the gifts, is the one that will work, right? The sholach savlunis l'shem kedushin. We don't say that. El amrinon machmas kedusha v'rishonim sholach. He's sending her the gifts based upon that he's mekadosh already. So the first kedushin was not a good kedushin. The first kedushin was not a good kedushin. Two women cannot be in a shava pruta, and one woman can't be in less than a shava pruta. And we don't say that the gifts that you send afterwards that are worth a shava pruta is to make up for what? The ones that I blew. A second din or a third din, v'chin katan shekidesh. A katan's mekadosh in isha when he's the katan. He now becomes a gadol and he sends her gifts. We don't say everyone knows that what his first kedushin wasn't a kedushin and he's being samech on the savlunis. We say that what? He's being samech on the first kedushin, and therefore the savlunis are a gift and they're not mekudeshes. But tzrichi, you need to tell me all cases. Diashmin and shava pruta. If you tell me the case of two women on a shava pruta, I did the kanafik m'voina minei. Since he's going ahead what, and you're taking out money from him, the shava pruta. Toy, he makes a mistake and he says the savlunis are nothing. Avapachas mishava pruta. In case number two, where it's less than a shava pruta, he knows Kedushin is not teifus less than a shava pruta. And therefore he's sending it what? As a new Kedushin, because he knows the first one won't work at all, since it's less than a shava pruta. If you tell me these two cases, the case of two women on one shava pruta, or one woman on a half a pruta, on less than a shava pruta, you should name pruta l'pachas mishava pruta like kim le'inshi. They hear the word pruta, they don't make a difference between shava and not shava. Pruta is money. Avul cotton shekidesh akol yoidin shein kiddush cotton klum. Everyone knows the kedushin of cotton is nothing. It has nothing to do with money. It has to do with his age. Therefore, when the cotton sends savlunis later on, adaite the kiddush kamashada, and therefore she's mukudeshes to the cotton. Kamash malon that what? No, we say you're sending it on what? On the das of the first kedushin, and therefore a cotton can be mekadesh, and it's not good kedushin. Itma Rafuna amachoshin l'savlunis, v'chein Rabba choshin l'savlunis. Now, what does that mean? Let's see Rashi. Choshin l'savlunis, misha shidach be'isha. A shidach was read. Shidach was read. No kedushin. A shidach was read. They spoke. The two families got together. They spoke, my son to your daughter, v'nsratze, and the son said, okay. The kodem before he was mekadesha. Sholach Sivlunis. He sent these gifts, the Eidim. Choshin Shemi Kidushin Hain. What he's sending now is Kedushin. In the Skat Acha, and if she's going to accept Kedushin from someone else, Tzricha get min a Rishon, she'll need a get from the Rishon. So Rashi's telling you guys, it's not outright that the second guy is being Mekadosh and Eseshish. The Lashon is Choshishin. We're chayish for the Sivlunis. If you weren't chayish for the Sivlunis, should be outright married to the second guy who's being Mekadesha. Over here, a shidduch was simply read. This is the way Rashi learns. Tosfos disagrees. Rashi learns that this shidduch was read. This shidduch, and the son says it's a great idea. He sends her a gift without an official kedushin. Will be chayish that this Sivlunis is what is for the purpose of kedushin, and therefore, if she would accept kedushin from a second man, she would need a get from the first one. That's what choshin l'savlunis means. Okay? Not only does Rav Huna say that, but Rabbi also agrees. Rabbi, Chayshin l'sivlunis back in the Gemara. Amarava u'mismin rashmaitza. And it's a question from a sugya. What's the question? Afa pisha sholav sivlunis lachamikan eina mikudeshes. We just had a Mishnah. Mekadesh, 2 women with 1 pruta, 1 woman with a half a pruta. Even though you sense sivlunis, afterwards it's not good kedushin. I'm telling you, choishish in the kedushin. Rabbi is asking on himself from a Mishnah, right? Our Mishnah says we're not chayish to sivlunis, and here you are, guys. What's the difference? In our Mishnah, there was a kedushin beforehand, albeit faulty, but there was an act of kedushin. When Rabbi agreed with Rav Huna, there was no act of kedushin. It was simply shidduchin. There was only spoken about. There was no act. That's the difference. Amalei Abaya, Chasam Kidikani Taima. That's the reason in the Mishnah, of course, what we said. Shemachmas Kidushin Arishonim Shalach. The reason that we say the Savlunis doesn't work, he's not going ahead being Mekadosh now with the Savlunis. He's going ahead and be slain if that this Savlunis is what? Based upon the 2 pruta on 1 woman, or 1 pruta on 2 women, or half a pruta on 1 woman, or for a cotton. But not that it's so therefore, if it's being we're saying it's being the act of sending gifts to a kala. The fact that she was a kala is based upon a faulty kedushin. When do we say that we're chayish that savlunis l'shem kedushin? Is when there was never a faulty kedushin whatsoever. There was simply shidduchim red. That's the difference between the two. Ikudiyami Amarabba Mino Aminallah. Now it's a raya from a Mishnah, not a kasha. You know how I know you're chayish the kedushin? Because on a Mishnah by savlunis is because our Mishnah is not, and our Mishnah is speaking because they had spoken about beforehand. Keditani taima shemachmas kedushin rishonim shalach. The reason why we do not view the savlunis as an act of kedushin is because it was being sent on the smach of a previous faulty kedushin. Alma Havi Kedushin, but any place over where you don't have full Kedushin is a good Kedushin. Abaya, now, Abaya brought a raya in the first case in the Mishnah. Now he's saying, no, Abaya, loimi boy kama. Loimi boy ba'alma. You don't need to tell me ba'alma where there wasn't a faulty Kedushin. Loinachas the Torah's Kedushin klal. Filo hacha, the nachas the Torah's Kedushin, ema havi Kedushin, kamash malan. In other words, there's a svara to say over here that there's more of a reason to believe there's a Kedushin. Because there was an act of kedushin. There was something. It wasn't just simply shidduchim. There was a guy who did an act of kedushin, albeit faulty. So I would think that maybe he talked to say, since I blew it, I'm sending it to l'shem kedushin kamashmalon. So the bottom line is, Abaye in the first place learned it as a raya in the first lashon, a kasha from it. And the second one, he's being a raya. So the question is, my havi Allah. What's the bottom line? What's the din? Amar or Papa bi'aser the mekadshe v'had the mesavle. In a place where the minig was, first do kedushin and then send gifts, chayshinin, right? Then you be chayish for the savlim being kedushin. In other words, you didn't do kedushin, but that's the normal, guys. The normal is you kedushin and then savlunis. So if you send savlunis, since usually kedushin is done beforehand, will be chayish. Mesavle v'hodim mekadshe, but in a place where first you send gifts and then mekadesh lechashinan. For Ed Gemara mekadshe v'hodim mesavle pshita. That would be chayish. Like tzricha, the ruba magdish, v'hodim mesavli. Most majority go ahead are mekadesh and then they send gifts. Umiyuto in a minority mesavle, they go ahead and send gifts v'hodim mekadshe. So madatema nechesh lemiyuta and it's not mekudeshes. Kamash mlomi go after the roiv, and since the roiv sends savlunas after kedushin, we'll say it's mekudeshes. Boy miner vacha merafuna merava chuchsik shtar ksuva b'shok mahu. You find a shtar ksuba in the street. Let's see Rashi. Chuchsik shtar ksuba b'shok. Sharo shtar ksuba. You see a shtar ksuba mahu. In the skachel acher, so you have ksuba written for this woman from this man, and you found it in the street. And now this woman accepts kedushin from another man. What's the din? Do we view it that she's married to the guy with the kedushin, with the ksuba or not? We don't have eidim on any kedushin, fellas. There was no wedding. There was no invitations. There was no shmorg. Sorry, Dov. There was nothing, right? I know my guys. There was nothing. There was nothing. So therefore, you found the ksuba. Are you chayish or not? So amalei. So Rabbi said to Rav Huna, "V'chi mifnei shemachzik shtar ksub b'shuk nachzik v'keishes ish." There was no Eidim today. You find a star, but again, there was no Eidim to any Kidushin or anything. So Mahavi, although what's the bottom line? Ravashi, Ba'asar the Mekache v'od Kasvei, in a place where they first would have Kidushin and then Kasvei Ksuba Chayshina will be Chayish to Shishanesh Ish. Or else, why is there Ksuba in the world? Kasvei v'od the Mekache, in a place where they write a Ksuba and then do Kedushin, loy chashina. For everything one mekashi v'od kasei pshita, right? It's so pashit. In other words, if the minig was that you only write a ksuba after Kedushin, so what's the shaila? It's so pashit. And the answer is that it's not so pashit. This is a place like tzrichot le'shiach safra. You don't have seifrim in this place. You don't have seifrim. So therefore, usually the minig is first Kedushin, then Ksuba. This person, he's got his eyes on this girl. Eventually, he wants to marry her. And now he has the Sefer passing through the town. So perhaps he's being what? A little thinking in the future. And he's going to say, okay, please write a Ksuba, even though the fact he never married her. But right now he has the opportunity to have this Ksuba written. Right? He has the opportunity. So if that's the case, let's be machzik the ksuba that we found that she's not mekudeshes. Says the Gemara, Mahu detema safrahu disrame. He ran into a cipher, had him write the ksuba despite the fact they weren't mekudeshes. Kamash malon this meal we're not chayish for. If there's a ksuba and the minig of the mokim is to have kedushin and then a ksuba, she will be mekudeshes to the first guy, even though she doesn't accept kedushin from the second fellow.
But there wouldn't be Eidim on that ksuba, even if he was preemptive to write it, so he just has the document.
You could always have Eidim sign, or you could have Eidim Masira karti. Remember, you could have Eidim Masira. You only have Eidim, you need Eidim written. You just Eidim Masira giving over the star. Would work. Anyway, have a good night, everybody. It's good to see you.